it took a little extra or something. Let me see. Okay, we don't have to look at that. We can look here. Boom, boom. A boom, boom. We did it.
Figure out how we're going to be able to
interact.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's just too far away. Like, I'm not going to be able to see it.
We are live, though. Yes.
Yeah, we're
Hello.
live. We're live. I'm wearing my glasses. Sorry. I'm just going to give
We're
it like
still
a
getting
second.
ready here.
Yeah. Sometimes
Happy New Year.
Oh
yes.
my God. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy new moment.
What did you do for New Year's?
I went to Atlantic City with Steve's family and Gala. They had a band and some delicious food.
Yum.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. How about yourself?
I went to a house party, like an adult house party. And like Greg and I haven't gone out in a long time. And like together, not to like a New Year's, not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll go to Cheesecake Factory once in a while by ourselves.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites now.
So good. Have you gone?
Yes.
Oh, it's so
and
good.
We've defied the stereotype all the time because my son Jonathan says, "Oh, 3 hour wait, 4 hour wait."
You're like, I walk right in there.
Both times and on weekends.
Oh, weekends.
Right
in. It gets pretty crowded. Did you go to Menlo? Is that where you went? Yeah, it's the closest one. Yeah, we like it because we can bring Howell and just like it's okay to bring kids, but you can still have your like fancy drink if you want that.
Food too.
Oh my God, the food is so good. We'll have to go sometime.
Yeah. How is everybody today?
Hello.
Here we are, as sort of promised. We're trying to make a big commitment to staying with a schedule.
Yeah.
And we are going to figure out eventually how we can interact. We just kind of feel that it may take a little bit away from the topic of discussion.
Yeah, I think that's the point, right? It's like if we have a set topic and it's like we want to share on the topic, then it might not be the most appropriate time to be interacting precisely.
Exactly.
But if it's a card reading, if it's a little bit of a Lucy kind of, then we can be a little more that way.
Maybe that's what we'll do. The next one we'll do like a reading and, one of us could sort of stay a little closer, look and pick up some comments.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. That's a good way to do it, I think.
And so we hope that everybody is doing fabulous. Of course, new space, right? New intentions, new creation, all of this beautiful new energy. What do you think?
I'm excited. We were just talking, Blanca was just sharing with me how, the nuts and bolts, like this is, we're kind of like getting this thing ready. It feels like in general, the collective kind of energy or, but how it might be showing up differently in all our lives. And I was like, it feels like something big is coming.
It does feel like something big is coming. And, we love to hear your thoughts on that. Of course, we all are experiencing, the experience in different levels, in different ways. But there's a lot of momentum. I agree. And it almost feels like, like this energy build up, and it doesn't feel bad, I just want to put that out.
But it is excessive.
Anticipatory.
Right? I like that word. That's a good word.
Yeah, anticipatory. Almost like something like a crowning of sorts, a pageant, some kind of announcement.
Right. And if you're not careful with that energy, you could lean into anxiety for sure. Like it can, right? It can cause anxious. Yes. But instead, we would encourage you to tap into eagerness, excitement, and allow yourself to ride that wave.
Because we're both feeling it, we want to share that field with you, and of course, as a collective, if we're willing, we can tap into, a field. And so we share that field with you. Great anticipation of something new, something big, fabulous.
Life-changing, I want to say.
So it could be, that opportunity you've been waiting for, an announcement, a shift, change.
Moving.
Right.
Marriage.
Accomplishment.
Like big thing.
Arrival. So join us in the flow of the anticipation that we're experiencing right now, right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so, you know what? We don't plan these shares. But sometimes we take a few minutes to just kind of say, like, what do you think of this and that? And
or what's been on your mind lately, or what's coming up, and what's the topic,
right? And so Loon was the initiator of topic, stay on your lane. And what does that mean? I loved it. And so tell us.
Well, I mean, staying in your lane in in a spiritual context. Of course, spirituality and all the rest of our facets of our lives or portions of our lives are all connected. You're going to see them kind of mirrored, but we mostly talk about spirituality, of personal development, of wellness and all that stuff. But I feel that I've witnessed a lot, and this is not judgment. This is not, I've done it myself. This isn't a like, I'm trying to stay in my lane too.
Right.
But it's very easy to, let's say you have a goal or you're moving in one direction, to start to worry about or concern yourself with rather, or be distracted by what someone else is up to, good or bad, if they're further along than you feel like you are, and how that makes you feel, and what does that do to you on an energetic level. Or maybe you're advancing and you look over and the next person or somebody who you love, probably someone you care about or have some kind of connection to, or just share a similar field with in general, might not be doing what we think that they should do. And we can get distracted by that as well. It's taking away, the issue here is that what are we taking away when we worry about what someone else is doing? And it's a very delicate subject because, Blanca and I am in part of Blanca's shamanic tribe, the first tribe, right? The first tribe. And we've got a group of 8 women all together, yourself included there. And just to give that example, we were all on different levels, but kind of, this was I'm not going to quote you right, but on our first day, it was like, look, you were like, look around, this is your tribe. And I was like, oh shit, right. Damn, and it was like, what happens to someone else in your tribe happens to you, kind of like we feel each other, we hold the field for each other, and we support each other. Now, if and that's a beautiful thing. So I'm not saying that is a bad thing to recognize where someone is and hold them maybe in a more comfortable state, or just see their success, or realize we all have, twists and turns and So there's that level, the community, the tribe, whatever. But then there's the other side of it where you can get more distracted by it, or kind of lose what your focus is or what your mission is, because you get focused about someone else. I don't see that coming up in our tribe specifically. That's not what I'm trying to say, but I just mean, I like to use our tribe as an example because we have this connection, I'm gonna mute my phone.
I love that you're using the word distraction, because I think that that's a real focal point.
Right. That's what it is.
In the tribe, in the collective, into the individual space, distraction could be very distracting.
Yeah.
And I love that. Immediately what it kind of reminds me of is the news. I always tell the beloveds when they come, clients, I should say, when they come and they're feeling anxious or, out of focus, I quickly ask them, what are they doing, what they're investing their time in. And I immediately tell them, if you wanted to sleep in peace, you want to feel in peace, don't watch the news, especially at night. Don't read the newspapers. And, that may sound a little radical. Of course, we remind everybody, take what resonates, because we share openly here with no judgment. That's kind of radical, not listen to the news or read the newspaper. How are we going to stay informed? Well, at the end of the day, we really have to ask ourselves, and this comes back to what you're saying, does it serve us? If we're investing our energy and time, right, in something, is it paying back? How is it returning back to you?
Right. Or are you even aware that you're investing by doing that?
Or are you aware? Exactly. And that's where the word distraction really, comes, because, and now we pose the question, are we aware that when we invest too much of our energy in anything else other than ourselves,
good or bad, in a way,
that we are making an investment that is, that is going to have a cause and effect? In other words, if we start with a full tank some way, somehow that investment, right? We're gonna start using our tank
absolutely
of energy.
I think it's a big part about protecting your personal field, like protecting, because if we think of ourselves as energy, or like we're in our vibe, or whatever it is, by focusing, let's say the example of being where you are and then seeing someone who's doing kind of the same thing or a similar thing rather, and maybe they're a little bit what you feel further ahead. If you use that as an inspiration, like, oh man, I know I can do that too. That's a beautiful thing. And that's healthy for your vibe. That's healthy for the focus in general, like kind of this like magnetizing, like, yeah, you did it. I can do it too. I love that. But then there's the other side of it that makes us feel like, well, what are they doing then? Or how can I do it like them? Or, you know, they're doing that, they don't even deserve it, you know, and like what happens then when those feelings come in, like on an energetic feeling level of bitterness or even jealousy, you know?
I'm laughing, I'm giggling because as Luna's speaking, I'm hearing like energy police. You know? Are we an energy police? And you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had to giggle because I heard it, you know, and saying like, yeah, you know, even if we put it under the spiritual umbrella, is it really serving us? And why do we do it really? You know, because one thing is to observe and, you know, and just kind of check you out and celebrate you, or maybe even take some tips, say like, like you said, how can this help me? How can this, by the way, all of these programs that we do is exactly that. You know, we're hoping that something that we share, something that we offer is going to inspire you, as we know, you know, and we're so grateful that we've heard that it does, right? So sort of that way. But when we become the spiritual police, now we're taking it to another level.
Yeah.
You know, and even though it's spiritual, you know, where are we operating from? You know, as we go into like stay in your lane. Is it jealousy? Is it insecurity?
Is it judgment too?
Is it judgment?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it competition? Is it lack of unworthiness, by the way? Yeah. I see a lot, you know, I've seen a lot of that, you know, over the years of working with people where, and again, this is not about judgment, we're sharing, you know, and, you know, we can learn if we see any part of this in ourselves, right? To hopefully, you know, correct, shift.
Absolutely. You're going to get this as a sign. It's not like you can avoid it. Just like you can't avoid feeling mad when somebody cuts you off in traffic. You know, in the first reaction, you're going to feel something. It's more of like, what are you letting it continue then, you know, right?
Yeah. And, you know, we find ourselves often, you know, measuring other people or critiquing them. You know, even if it's out of concern, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the ouchie.
Yeah.
Even if it's out of, you know.
I'm worried about that.
You know, there's a fine line between whether we're really concerned or are we just reshifting our attention. Or are we doing that to make ourselves feel superior? Like, in other words, I've got it all together, but you know, oh, did you look at that one? And oh, did you see, you know, this one, that one?
Right.
You know? And why are we bringing this up? Because it is important. Again, if we knew how sacred that tank of energy is, and if you knew that the value of it, then we would invest it wisely.
I think of my energy and my time and my focus like my money. Like that's my like energy money. Like they're the same thing. Like where I spend my money even. I want to spend it in places that, you know, I always try for small business first, you know, or things I really love or off, you know, like, and then I feel good about it. I'm like, oh, I bought myself that purse. I love that purse there. Whatever, right? Because I just got a new purse, you know, or whatever, you know, and if you feel good about it. But if I'm like, oh, I got to pay this, or, oh, I don't know, like, I'm going to take Amazon as an example because they're like, you know, they're so helpful because you can get everything in one space. But it's also like is this really good? Is this a healthy system? Like these people are very overworked. Like just that kind of perspective, I guess.
Right,
Like where is
right.
that going to? What kind of ethics may be involved or whatever, just in terms of relating like money to energy and all that stuff and where you spend it. And you watch your money a lot more than you watch your personal energy, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
That's fabulous.
Like you hold on to that $50 bill, like, oh, I don't want to break it yet,
Right.
But we don't do that with our energy.
But we don't value our energy. By the way, as we move along, this could become very broad because I'm feeling, the telephone as you talk about that, telephone conversations, even texting for that matter, and everybody is, subjected to this. People that we feel responsible for, that we love, by the way, who we have a relationship with, they're biting your ear off, right? Or energetic vampires.
Yeah. And they mean so well, and it's not, and it's hard to instill that boundary, isn't it? Be like, I love you, but I really have to get back to work, or I love you, but I gotta go.
And so we're talking also, I guess, about staying in your lane, creating boundaries. Creating and honoring boundaries, and looking at your own boundaries, have you set, and, respecting other people's space as we, if we claim to have awareness, then, it's kind of like one of the commandments, right? Of learning how to honor and value other people's space.
And journey.
And it doesn't mean, it's sometimes hard to have a discussion without making it sound judgmental, because sometimes we do come out of concern.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, we can't lie to ourselves, and we need to look at ourselves and see how much time is really being invested. How much of us is really going into this, that, and, I have noticed another way. And by the way, we're not chit-chopping people here.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I'm going to share my worst ones that I do, that I have to talk myself out of.
I see a lot of that on Facebook. And by the way, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook doing that. A lot of times I don't know what's going on because I go in and out of there. I make my announcements. It is a platform for me. But of course, sometimes I'll spend 5 minutes, if that, because again, respecting my space. And people who use that as a platform to vomit, really, or if you could really see how they feel, or what's happening in their lives just by reading the posts, or even they're sharing, these affirmations,
and it's dangerous too, isn't it? Because then if you're sharing, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you're sharing your bad day every day, but even once, someone is holding you in that bad day who read it. If you told me, oh, I just lost my wallet, or I just had this catastrophe happen, or a tree fell through my, like anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about that kind of stuff, but even like troubles or whatever, it's not like we shouldn't share. But Facebook there's quite a lot of people peeking and not commenting who are going to hold you that way. Like, oh, she's a mess. Oh, she's having trouble. And what's that doing for your field?
It's feeding it. It's actually creating the field larger in that negative feeling that you're in. Exactly. Enabling. Absolutely. I love this. These are the little areas that we really don't always notice.
Right.
Because of course, and we shouldn't be, our priority should be self-nurturing, self-expansion, self-growth, self-development. And, that should be like a meat and potatoes kind of thing. But these are the things that we don't notice, that can be just as
influential to what's going on and like what
impactful.
You're
Impactful. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify, like, I don't mean we shouldn't share what we're going through. I didn't mean to sound like that. I just mean when you do it daily, just to be mindful of it, just to be mindful. I share things with people who I know are going to hold me where I want to get going. Like if even when I have something bad going on, I'm like, oh, I I don't personally, it's not judgmental, but I don't tell the world. Like, I've clearly made videos where I'm vulnerable and I'll tell of like something I went through, you as well. But I'm telling it then from like this place of like, I either mastered it or I'm working through it, or yeah, I might be struggling now, but like, don't worry, like I've got a plan, or it's getting better, that kind of thing. So I don't want to, I'm not trying to sound like we should be all closed off, just mindful of, is there an energy vampire holding you then in their field of in lack, disease, discomfort, messy.
Absolutely. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book called Mastering the Language of the Universe. And it's a masterpiece because it is about what we're discussing. It's about, in a nutshell, it's about how we cannot lie to the universe about, we could talk all we want, right? And we could even do what we want, but if we're feeling something, then that signal or those signals go out into the universe. So there's no secrets,
right?
In a roundabout way.
The feeling is the vibration.
Exactly.
You can tell where you're at on a vibe level by how you're feeling.
Exactly.
No matter what.
And so when we think about there being no secrets, well, there it is. What are we sharing? What are we putting out there? How are we identifying ourselves? And what are we being not only a part of, but inviting others to hold the field for us? And that's where conscious awareness should really be. Do you want to be a victim? Do you want to feel disempowered? Or do you want others to hold that field for you? No.
Probably not.
Right?
Yeah, no.
And so discernment about and being conscious about what you put in. By the way, we'll be the first ones to say that we all have moments.
Yeah. We have to, right? For growth and all of that. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And it's not to say that, perfect and that we're always going to be with a smile on our faces.
No.
But being discerning about having those moments and sharing it, say, in a tribal way, with people that we know are going to not hold us in the space, but honor us in the space.
Help
as
to validate.
We move through it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
I love that. The thing that comes up for me when you're talking about the feeling, and I think of that as like visceral. Like I relate feelings to like you feel it. You're not usually confused so much about what you're feeling. You might be confused as to why you're feeling it, but you can pretty much identify how you feel if you check in with yourself. And sometimes, like I just would share when I need to stay in my lane. Like there's definitely been times when, I'm doing my thing. I'm fine. Like everything, I'm in my mission. I feel like I'm making my moves, whatever. And then for whatever reason, maybe we'll blame it on like some astrological event, but I'll see someone else and I'll be like, oh, they're cheating. Oh, I just saw this person and they bought all these followers or something. Why would they even do that? That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even serve a purpose. Why would they do that? And I'm like, why am I even thinking about this? I feel like that and I could let myself go for an hour on that, like being like, but why would people do that? Don't you want to do it yourself? And it's like, what does it, why do I care? Right. Why do I care? I feel like the initial feeling, like getting mad when somebody cuts you off in your car, is like the thing, like, okay, I don't like that. So that means not for me, not let me keep sinking my mental teeth into this and trying to pick it apart. I can relate this very much to friends and like ex-friends, if I can say that. I know it's like a harsh word, but specifically for me, I had like a very close friend for a really long time. The relationship didn't end very well, but I knew it was coming. I knew it was meant to be separate. I could see it. We were going different directions, but it had a harsh ending, and I love her and I do rituals to like create like, where I just love and just like peace and all this stuff. But when I see her in my gut, I'm like, like, I don't want to be around you. And I had to keep thinking, I'm like, why am I feeling petty? Why? Like, I'm over here, I'm doing Reiki, I'm in my class, I'm doing this. Like, I'm working so hard on myself. Why am I feeling petty, like straight up
Mhm.
in my gut, like petty. And I had to reflect and be like, that's the sign for me that I'm
Mhm.
not meant to rekindle that friendship, because
Mhm.
I feel like it's one that could be rekindled potentially at any time,
Mm.
but I know that it's not supposed to by my gut. You know, my logic could be like, well, maybe it'll be good, or maybe it's time. But if my gut is like, no, then I have to honor that. You know what I mean? But it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be where I sit and get mad at her for no reason, for,
Right.
you know.
It's so interesting you brought that up, because just 2 days ago I was speaking to a beloved,
Mhm.
talking about the wounds that I still feel of some of the beloveds that have walked out of my life. And like the way they did.
Yeah, the way.
Like,
It's not the parting,
not
it's the way.
right.
Yeah.
I don't exist anymore, and all that
Mhm.
love. And there it is, because it's not about saying that we shouldn't honor the way we feel. Just this week I went out to breakfast, and there's a particular place that I frequent that I always bump into a beloved who's
Mhm.
walked away.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I made a choice this time when I went in there. I said, I'm going to sit in a place where I'm not exposed to
Mhm.
her entry
Mhm. Mhm.
if she happens to come in, because I choose not to feel this wound
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, as always, I have to do my checklist and say, like, why is this still
Right. You want to reflect.
right?
Like,
On
what is
why?
it? Yeah.
And here it is, guys. So does it sound like I'm making an excuse? Some wounds are more profound than others.
Mhm.
And sometimes we just have to accept the fact that things, it doesn't mean that we haven't healed from it,
Mhm.
but it was probably so profound that it still creates that trigger, like
Mhm.
what you just shared.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that when it comes to relationships, like deep, loving relationships, we may need to cut a little bit more slack as far as like still having those triggers, because you know what?
Mhm.
Love is love.
Yeah.
You
And then when
know?
it's not there,
When-
the law of rhythm bounces it back to the
Exactly.
opposite. And if love was this magnetic glue that like you couldn't talk to each other enough, it's
Mhm.
like, I need to get the hell away from you. I can't
Yeah.
get away from you enough kind of feeling. Or
Right.
like, I can't, this hurts too much still.
Exactly.
I love you. It's healed, but it hurts still. So
Right.
like, it's like, we have to honor that too. So I
Mhm.
guess what we're trying to share here, or what I was trying to share, is just that, like, not to judge how you feel. Like, if you're in your lane, you're
Mhm.
focused on your goal, you're making tracks, you look over and you start to feel bad, that's just a sign for you to analyze. And
It could
not
be a
hyper,
sign,
not
right.
hyper analyze, but like, what does that tell you?
Mhm.
But don't spend, I would just suggest, I'm not pushing anything, but to not invest that time into it. It's kind of like when you have a healing.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have a healing, and afterwards, within like the next few days, something bubbles up.
Mhm,
It comes
mhm.
up. But I don't believe that it's meant to like dissect and understand and pick apart and relive and reattach to or push back down. Definitely not. It's to get it out.
Right.
To
To
it's
make you aware.
It just passes through. Oh, I see you. Thank you for the lesson. I don't even know the lesson yet, but thank you. I know there's a lesson here, so thank you. Even if it's there, and you
Mhm.
can't pinpoint what it taught you. Okay, I'm letting it go.
Mhm.
Instead of like this, like, because then you're
Mhm.
back where you started.
Mhm.
You're back investing into something that didn't
Mhm.
serve you.
Absolutely. My son and I were having a conversation last night, and we were talking about how some people just see, like the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
Or, there's always a choice. You can smell the roses,
Mhm.
or you could always see how the grass, or think that
Yeah.
the grass is always greener somewhere
Right.
else. And basically that means, you always, you tend to wah about what's not working yet,
Mhm.
or look what they're doing and I'm
Mhm.
not there yet. We're talking about mindfulness and staying in your lane,
Mhm.
We need to be mindful of the outer and inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The outer and inner and both, by the way, both of them are very important, because the word has power.
Absolutely.
And
it's
so,
the foundation, I would say.
Yeah.
It's the foundation for creating the
Exactly.
word, the thought, the word.
Yes. Yeah. And so, this is why we say here, in the programs, if it resonates, we're not judging, because we want to make sure. It's hard to have a conversation, right?
Mhm.
And using the word, you know, and keeping it in a place of integrity, right?
Mhm.
But we try our best because we all not judging, and we share.
Mhm.
But to be mindful of the word, and by the way, the subconscious thought is
Mhm.
just as powerful. So the inner thought of what's going on in here and what's being projected and perceived and thought of, just as powerful because it's going into a container.
Mhm. Mhm.
It is
It's
being
doing something.
it
It's
is
going out
being
on a
put into
mission.
fruition for a creation.
Mhm.
And if we don't think so, then we must think again.
Mhm.
You know, that every contribution is an investment.
Mhm. And this
You
is
know?
where mantras or
Mhm.
affirmations come in so helpful if you find yourself in that place of either your outward expression in some way or your inner dialogue is not supporting you, not serving you. If you're thinking about somebody else, or you're thinking about the
Mhm.
news, if you're telling yourself you suck or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever you're creating, again, awareness. But even if you keep, before you even get to that good place of like, oh, I got my awareness. Yeah, I catch myself all the time. That takes a little work, right?
Yeah.
But what I would suggest to some people then, if that's something you find, first of all, if it's overthinking like this, peachy moonstone, peach aventurine, very helpful for quieting the mind, like the lower mind, the conscious mind, but also, or like internal, external,
Mhm.
whatever. But also add the good, like just like you take a vitamin, an affirmation or a mantra is a method of adding the good into your vocal or expressive or inner dialogue space to combat that, balance it, and at least start to create a little like diffusion, I want to say, and then more so even empowerment, but it's probably first
Mhm.
diffusion.
Yes.
And you'll feel like that's why mantras are so comfortable and so powerful,
Right.
You sometimes don't even have to know what's being said when you're getting
Mhm.
started. If you're listening to some like mantra you don't understand, like it's one of those like,
Mhm.
very another language that like I don't speak, and I'm like, oh, this one is for, I don't know, healing. Okay, cool.
I love that. The mantras, affirmations, and you know what? Sometimes I even suggest have a little bracelet on, right? That reminds you of returning back to a place or a
Right.
state of mind. Sometimes we may not have, the luxury of investing in affirmations at, an elevator or something. Have a little something that's going to bring you right back into that focal point of, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stay in my space. I'm going to return to my place of light, of oneness,
Right.
right.
We all have unique paths.
Right.
I'm focused on mine,
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, then we're not. Then we're not.
You fizzle out. Your cup is pouring. It's just spreading off the table. It's not making the impact it could make, in the directions.
Kind of reminds me of another trait that I've noticed, which is the rescuer. The rescuer personality is just that. It's usually, putting off fires kind of thing, oh, let me go help this one and let me do that. And on the surface, and by the way, the rescuer is a beautiful term. So there's many beautiful value to that. And yet there's that fine line where, why are they being such a rescuer? And why are they putting off fires? And most of the time, the extreme rescuer is because they don't want to look at themselves.
They don't want to do their own work yet.
Right.
Kind of, right? Like,
so they redirect their attention to almost like fool themselves into feeling better.
You see that like with like certain, and I'm not saying all moms, but like that's like a mommy thing, right? Like the mom who like invests all of her time in her kids, and then her kids grow old and they leave the house and they don't know who they are anymore because it's all always been for the kids. And I'm not saying that's beautiful, but there needs to be the self-feeding or what are you tapping into that you're passionate about, or what are you doing for you, that kind of thing. And it's not, I'm not trying to group moms together, but just like that example, like.
It comes right back to the word balance, balance, and envisioning, as I talked to the beloveds in the shamanic class, the pie, and the different slices of pie. listen, there is no right or wrong. There could be 6 slices to a pie, 10 slices to 12, 8, you pick your number. But the emphasis of the pie is that to the best of our ability, each slice is even. Imagine if we had a pie right now, right? And I gave you this little sliver, and then I took the rest of the pie, right? In evening out, to the best of our ability, those slices, and the pie now becomes your career, your children, your friends, your contribution, your mission, then hopefully we will stay in our lane.
Yeah.
And in the lane of the roles that we play. Right?
Yeah.
But the minute those slices become, one slice becomes
The
bigger,
whole thing, yeah.
right, and bigger, then it's an indication that we have an imbalance somewhere. How's that?
Yeah.
Right?
You'll feel it too. Like you'll feel drained. You'll feel drained from not staying in your own lane or having not the best boundaries for yourself, or giving and not receiving. And there's this concept too of like, you can be giving and be giving shit, like complaining, or like you can do it in a beautiful way, or, in like a more light based, like selfless kind of thing, which still isn't, great all the time, but you can also be giving in like a negative, where you're spreading this kind of like negative stuff around, and it's definitely not on purpose. It's probably not even in your forefront of like, that's what I'm doing. And, that's kind of where it comes from too, of not really wanting to look at yourself, kind of thing. It's a delicate balance. I'd say like the best way is to stay in your lane, stay focused. And what we mean by that, just to like clarify again, is to stay in alignment with what your soul has come into this world to experience in some way, or fulfill, or what speaks to you. And while other people might have similar looking paths or enticing paths, your path is very different. Something for you might not be for me, like even if I feel like I want it, it might not be, or, that's not the best way to say it, but, I'm trying to say like there's a difference, and that's okay. Or somebody might get something, I don't know.
I agree with you though.
A partner, and like we get jealous or something, and then it's like, no, but mine is coming, that kind of thing.
It comes back, yes, to honoring your uniqueness. As I heard you say that, like, I can't bake to save my life. And I wish I knew how, but I just can't. And I'm not very good with my hands creating. Like, I see all the beautiful jewelry, that a lot of the light workers create. Cannot do it. But I honored what I can do, which is, I write books, and I'm a great reader,
You make oils.
And I make oils, right?
Yeah.
And so I hear that, it's about honoring your uniqueness. And, comparison, by the way, and competition are like very low vibrational energies.
Absolutely.
We want to wound, make a hole in our spiritual container, energetic container. Let's practice some competition and jealousy, envy, and all that, because it's really it's beyond the fact that we're putting that energy out. It's the fact that we're devaluing our self-worth.
Yeah.
So it's like a double.
It's very it comes with a lot of different things, and there's really no something like jealousy is such a good example, because like, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't see a clear purpose in jealousy. Like jealousy as your kid, maybe like jealous of your siblings, so whatever, there's that. But as we get older, jealousy in relationships, like that coming up, like, yes, it might be a kind of gluing emotion to like keep people together, if that, but at the same time, like, is it ever serving you? Like when I think of jealousy, especially in relationships, because that's, I feel like when it comes out like very strong, like very like people get murdered over that,
Absolutely.
So it's like,
right.
If that was the case, like if I had, my partner, right? If I had a reason, if I felt jealous, I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. Do I really have a reason for this? Like, is something going on that we need to talk about? Or am I making this up and I need to look inside of me and where's my jealousy coming from? Let me face it and deal with it, kind of thing. But not let me just keep going with it, like running with it, letting it drain me. It doesn't seem helpful.
And I love that you brought that up, because it reminded me of something that I wanted to say earlier and I forgot. I get crazy. Did I say I get crazy? I get crazy when I read statements like, there's something you don't like about somebody. It's really just a reflection of you. Just that blank statement.
Yeah, like
it doesn't resonate with me all the time, by the way. And this is again where
I agree.
I'm bold with that way. And I ask that we need to dot our I's and cross our T's, because sometimes it is a reflection and we need to decipher, we need to do the homework to see if it is. But other times it's not a reflection, but more so the challenge to see where you're going to go with it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, listen, if you out of nowhere come and mistreat me and you start being verbally abusive, right? What, I have to automatically assume that it's a reflection of me. How about if the reflection is that I need to take a stance?
Yeah, that I need to assert my boundaries.
Exactly,
you can't talk to me like that and be my friend, like that kind of thing.
And so that blanket, it's always a reflection of you.
Right.
And, not everybody shares that, but I know that there's a lot who actually say like, oh, well, it's really about you. Well, it's not always.
That. What about then like the fires in LA or something? So that's all about those people, no, that's not. It's what are you going to do now? Like, yes, it's.
What's the invitation?
Yeah.
What's the platform creating for you to declare or to announce?
And I think like another facet of that too is sometimes you have these feelings with people and it's just a sign of like, even if it wasn't me, like where you had to confront and say, hey, you can't talk to me like that. But you'd be like, okay, I see where I'm not making these calls back. I'm not picking up the phone anymore if she calls me back. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Yeah, you can say sorry, but after what she just did, I don't trust her.
Right.
I don't trust her reactions. I can't trust how she's going to treat me in the future after this, even if somebody says sorry or something. And it's more of the personal boundary of what are you doing too? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think sometimes
if I am so there, by the way, I have situations like that, and even currently where I have some protective walls up because I've had many who've walked out of my life and, who've walked back, and you just can't make believe that it didn't occur.
Right. You can
and
forgive.
Even though you can forgive and you never stop caring for the individual, I almost feel like there has to be, in order to get it to a better place, it has to be addressed. How's that?
Yeah.
It needs to be brought into another light.
It has to be validated.
And it has to be valid. Perfect. Yeah. It has to be validated. Like, we just can't make believe that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And yes. And so what
we were just talking about boundaries and just being able to be like, no, like, the boundary is sometimes internal or like, or it's your action, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a confrontation necessarily unless you really want to try to move forward and want to rebuild. I have a lot of time, not a lot, very few, but some people who you interact with throughout like growing up, and you just feel kind of like, you just don't mesh, right? Like maybe they were mean to you, maybe something going on, and you hear sometimes these like spiritual perspectives of it, or more woke perspectives of like, oh, but that's a teacher for you, you got to work on it. And like sometimes I'm thinking like, no, like if I'm viscerally like disturbed by the concept of having a conversation or like the presence, or sometimes there's people who I've literally, I don't even know them, but I've like practically run away from them because I was just like, there's a staticky thing here, polar opposites, whatever you want to call that, like is sending me away. And I'm going to honor my animal instinct always, number one. Like my animal instinct, I even trump my intuition too. Like they're very similar, but the fact that we can viscerally feel that like happening is like something I don't argue with, because I can think myself out of like, oh, he didn't mean it. Oh, but if my gut, or this looks great on paper, but my gut is telling me like, no, I'm gonna honor my gut. I always am.
I am with you 1,000%. And I don't know about you, but I'm affected physically and energetically big time when, like you say, the animal instinct, when there's somebody low vibrational, just of a different frequency.
Yeah, they're not bad. I'm not
Right,
trying to say bad.
right.
I'm not.
I am like, my whole sensory
Mhm.
begins to respond to it.
Mhm.
And my solar plexus is where I feel it the most.
Mhm.
Sometimes I get dizzy or nauseous.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, like just this, almost like the hair stand kind of feeling,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
Like back up,
Yep.
back away, or just stay away, or,
Mhm.
and it's hard because, again, we're not talking about judgment. I love what you're saying about honoring your intuition, and we should, we don't need to judge anything. We just need to be the observer
Mhm.
and honor whatever it is that you're feeling. We don't need to, go crazy in trying to justify it, or you are the validation.
Right.
How's that?
Yeah.
We don't have to make 10,000 phone calls and read up and see whether it was the right call.
Right.
You know
right.
what?
Right.
What do you feel?
Oh, that comes. Yeah, I just actually had a session last night that was kind of one of the things that she was working through. She's very easy to like just cut people out, and I'm like, I can relate. I'm like, I feel like I'm a walking Irish goodbye, like, like later,
Well,
yeah.
Yes,
but like there's part and it was like kind of like worrying her a little, or like, what is this? And I was like, it might be also just your instinct to move on, or that this person doesn't serve you, and that's okay too. Yeah, I think we should look.
Right.
Am I doing this too much? Like, I 100%, but I never want to discredit or disempower what someone's natural instincts are either. Right.
And there it is, perfect. Crossing our T's and dotting our I's, because there are times when we're doing something because we need to heal something, or to just polish something up. I have walls up because a lot of people walk away. Does that give me an excuse? No, I need to look at that every time that I feel it.
Right.
And ask myself, should I be having these walls? Are they validated? Or is it because I'm still wounded and I don't trust people? You letting you in was, with a magnifying glass. Like,
yeah.
What?
It took even like, when we met, we hit it off right away, I would say. Yes. But it took like months of like a couple of times like passing into each other, maybe like one expo, then the next expo, and then it was more of like, so what are you about?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Kind of thing.
I was like with a magnifying glass, like, why do you want to?
And I was I knew I could see that in you too, and I could see that like a lot of people are kind of after you, if I can put it that way, like you're whatever. And in a good way, but like, wanting a little piece, like share some of that. And I was like, I'm just gonna be so like neutral, like just here being myself and just honoring like the boundary, because I knew that would happen, so it's just funny, like,
oh
that
my
we both
God,
felt
and I
that
adore
way.
her. She's so me and mine. But yeah, the boundaries of like, what do you want, and should I let you in, and are you real?
Right. Do you want something?
Right.
Is this
why
one-sided?
are you coming around? And, right.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability of that, and there's no shame in saying that, the vulnerability. Now, that's a perfect word. Why am I vulnerable? Well, because I've had injury. Does that give me an excuse? No.
Right.
And there it is again, how we could see it in Loon's relationship and myself. Well, if I would have not looked at it, then I could have jeopardized all that we've done and are doing and are going to do.
Right. But if you were too open to whatever, I'm sure you'd have to deal with some flakiness or like other things that could also hurt you and reiterate the walls, like, or like reestablish the walls then,
Yeah. And so, staying in our lane and the many different, avenues or detours or turns that we can make as we're trying to decipher what our lane is, it doesn't mean at all that, this is a collective experience and we should want to unite and interact and share and engage. But when we do that from the highest place, then it propels and accelerates and takes us and the experience to incredible high levels.
Absolutely.
But when we're not vibrating on that level, it takes us in the reverse, to...
It's a detour. And it's not this, I think that there's a I never want anyone to feel like, oh, you're off your path. Oh, you're off the, but maybe then the lesson is always like, oh, I should have listened to my gut, or, oh, I should have stayed focused on what I was supposed to stay focused on, so it's kind of like it brings you back anyway. What I mean? As you take the detour, you're like, oh, wait, wrong turn.
Like groundhog, you mean? Like, in other words, coming back.
Like a jug handle, or you ever like you're driving in Jersey. We have jug handles in Jersey. And you miss it, and you gotta go this way, and then do another jug handle. So you're like, okay, well, at least we know there's a Wawa here. I guess if we have to get gas, but okay, let's keep going.
Absolutely. And you know what this kind of reminds me of too, while we're talking about it and expanding on it, is this even can apply to those who have a calling to, like for a vocation, especially in the healing arts. And why I say that is, and I do this with my students all the time. My goal with my students is to get them out of my office and for them to come back every couple of weeks for the divine attunement of, the connection, maintenance.
Yeah.
But not to hold your hand forevermore with this, that, okay. Why? Because we can self-sabotage if we're not careful and stand in that platform of readiness, of being ready to declare ourselves and to be in the role, of our calling. We could want this study and that study, this certification, this, blessing, this initiation, And while those are all important and they have a space, they definitely have a place.
They might take away from the work, the groundwork.
Yeah.
Like getting out and actually doing it. Yeah.
And feeling that we need to do 10,001 things before we get there. So staying in our lane means that I feel as well is to honor our progression, and to know that it's leading us somewhere, and that eventually that lane becomes a territory, it becomes a foundation,
a bigger version of the self that you kind of step into, or like I'm thinking of like even just Lunanate, like as myself, like I had to stick with Lunanate. You know how many businesses I've started? Like I've tried so many. I have so many LLCs or so many, one DBA that didn't work out, other LLCs that didn't work out, and for me to even stick with something like. Well, this was tied spiritually, so that's why it stuck. So, like, to be fair, like it had to happen that way. But it was like the commitment to like, who am I creating while I take on Lunanate?
I love that.
I didn't feel it. Maybe I felt it like in a sacred internal space. But before I could like be like, hey, I go by Lunanate, and this is my aesthetic. And this is my work, and this is my method, and this is my, kind of thing. And it's like more me because it got bigger at the end of that.
I loved it. And you know why? You honored it. And you had the courage, to stand there. And I absolutely love, and that's what I love, yes. And that's, again, staying in our lane, true to ourselves. And you know what? And knowing that there may be ridicule, there may be jealousy, or, ridicule is really it. Like, what the heck?
Yeah,
like, who the hell are you?
What is
like,
this?
Lunanate. Or when I wore my bindis 20 years ago, and people would walk out of the shop because they thought I, voodoo, and, like, I don't know, like evil eye, And the pain that caused me, and yet, you know what? I knew I had to do it. I had to do it for myself. I had to do it for what I was creating, like you're saying. And so staying true to in our lane is, true to your convictions, to your high spiritual convictions, and knowing that if something higher than you is propelling you to identify or to create, to develop, to expand, that you need to be your greatest hero and fan all at once, and believe in yourself, because that in itself will speak volumes then to others.
Absolutely. I always tell people when we're doing like Reiki stuff, like Reiki teachings, like because not everybody wants to be a practitioner. Some people want to go
mhm.
through master but not be a
Right.
practitioner, and
Right.
that's fine.
Right.
And I say, like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yes, I'm out here and I do this, or yes,
Right.
other people have practices, or maybe some people make jewelry and they Reiki infuse their
Mhm.
jewelry, whatever, right? But if your healing and your mastery is
Mhm.
of the self, it doesn't matter, because that's what you're holding and radiating from your
Absolutely.
internal antenna when you take a walk, when you sit next to someone on the bus, when you get your coffee, like you're vibing that out, and that's so
Absolutely.
beautiful,
I love that too. When I walk around, Steve, my partner, gave up already, but he used to, like scold me all the time because I'm like a kid when I'm loose. I touch all the fruits and the candies, and I'm always touching everything, and I'm getting underneath trees like a kid, and I am. And he says, like, what are you doing? Walking over to people's, trees and stuff. And I'm in my pure state of, I'm going to bless everything. And I'm going to engage in everything. And I really do touch all the fruit. I touch the bread, and, and it may seem like I'm violating, but I'm putting my sprinkles and everything. And why not? Because we are who we become, and that's what we bring,
and that's what we have to honor,
and that's what we have to honor.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love that. Let me do a time check.
Yes.
Do you want to pull a card? I thought maybe we could
do.
pull a card
Yeah,
for
you know
like
what?
the
We
week,
didn't plan it, but I would love it. Yes.
I'll give you this deck,
and
I know you have it.
I
Unless
did
you
a
wanna do
show.
special
No,
one,
no.
but-
I did a video yesterday, and I meant to pull one, so it's perfect that
Is
you
this
asked because I
good?
didn't.
Or I also
Yes.
have.
Actually, yeah, that one's good. Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, I had a feeling too. I actually thought that's what I got.
Yay! Look at that.
So, like, for the next week, maybe like a little food for thought for the next.
I forgot yesterday. I was gonna pull a couple of cards, and I got so involved in speaking about puzzles that I forgot.
Puzzles! Blanca got a new puppy. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
He looks
I'm gonna
just
write a
like
little
her.
book, and he looks just like me, hair and all.
I wish I looked like Bamba. Bamba's the cutest. Well, Puzzles is very cute too, but I just mean I would love to look like Bamba.
Oh, Bamba's so beautiful.
He's so like his personality. He just has such a personality. His little like subtle expressions, like he'd be talking to me like, but it's so you have to really like watch his face. The little dogs, they talk a lot. You'll hear it. It's like these little tiny breaths,
Yeah.
but they're talking to you.
I was wondering about that because I thought he was having like some kind of allergies or something.
Oh,
he does like a lot of yeah.
Yeah. What kind of dog is he? Do you know?
A Yorkie.
He's a Yorkie
Terrier.
I know, like
he's like a big baby, but he is a precious. He's constantly putting up his
little paws
from paws so you can pick him up.
Oh my god!
Pick me up.
Yeah.
We need attention.
I need this. That's what's good about the little dogs. So you can just pick them up. Like,
oh my god, like a baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll let
how
you
many
go
cards
first.
are we picking? One?
We'll do one each, I guess,
Okay,
right?
very good.
Or two each, but whatever you feel.
Okay, so this is for the week. Sitting with the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And put my energy in the deck. I love it. See, we're gonna the console.
Oh, I have never got that card before from there.
Ooh, yeah. Well, this speaks to us, of course, prior to EP, but console, this is a deep card. I'm almost taken back a little bit that as we're talking about, staying in your lane kind of thing. This is about the higher purpose, the purpose behind the purpose behind the purpose, knowing that there's a divine order of things. And that when we open ourselves to that high divine guidance, and that guidance, by the way, could come through you, the guru within the self, but of course through mentorship, through divine guidance teachers, practices, teachings, and having a deep connection to the console. There's many consoles available to us, and the higher in that space of growth and expansion that we become, the more they step up. Feel mentoring here. listening, trusting,
Mhm.
and having reverence.
Yeah.
Reverence for all the uh, guidance that you receive.
I feel like reverence for the
Yeah.
behind the scenes, like
Behind
what's
this,
happening and what
yes.
it takes to happen. So
Oh,
even in the
beautiful
lane
card.
concept, it's like
Beautiful.
what it takes for us to get from here to here. Sometimes we feel like we want to rush through,
Yes.
but that's not the order. There's other things preparing. There's other things
Oh
coming
boy,
in, you know?
absolutely. That's right. The behind,
Yeah.
you know, like there's an orchestration
Mhm.
of divine order. And we're in kindergarten, believe it or not, when we think about
Oh my God.
all that there's above us. So, wow.
Mhm.
Blessings. I hope that speaks.
And I took a peek, but I got the Ace of Swords in reverse.
Mm.
So this could tie definitely to like overthinking or being mindful rather where your thoughts are going.
Mhm.
It was literally just what we were talking about, staying in your lane, especially with am I engaging with jealousy in a sense of like not reading it, but like really like letting it become part of my vibe, or comparison, you know, that kind
I feel
of thing.
not allowing yourself to be pierced
Mm,
by rhetoric or, you know,
right.
like just outside drama,
Mhm.
not taking
Mhm.
things so personal,
Yeah, yeah, that's
being able to
definitely a
move
part of it.
beyond that.
And just
Yeah.
like being mindful, like watching your
Mhm.
your thoughts, your you know, I would call that thoughts,
Mhm.
your inspiration. Maybe even for some of you, if you are tapping into this lane concept of this is like actually speaking to you as like, whoa, this is like going on in my life right now, or something like that is going on. It's kind of like a is thou what thought reflection are the inspired thoughts that I feel being picked up by other sources? Like am I picking stuff up from other people in a way that's not necessarily my own, or is this truly my calling, like my inspired things that are kind of coming through, or like creative ideas? I don't want to say copying, that's not exactly what I mean, but for example, if you're like an artist, you probably copy other people's artwork when you're getting started because that's how you practice. But after a certain point of, you know, really, you know, working to become an artist, it's more of what is my style, you know, like how do what's my aesthetic? I can say that for my YouTube channel. When I very first started, I made like a handful of like regular ASMR videos, and I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of copying because I didn't know where to get started. And then I totally stopped for a little while, and then I came back with all the spiritual stuff, and I was like, oh, this is me.
But now you have your own signature.
Yeah, and now it's like I have the lighting, like that you come to expect. I have my intro, people come to expect, and it's not copied or. And I'm not to say we wouldn't be inspired by other people. Of course we are, but just to be mindful of that. You know, like is it your own right now, and can you make it more of your own?
And I love that message, Loon. I love it because, you know, the truth be told, we all mimic. That's how we're born into a foundation, you know, when we're children, infants, toddlers, all we, you know, do is mimic others, right? And to a degree, it's perfectly okay. You know, if we're inspired by somebody, you know,
oh my God,
Oprah Winfrey, you know, like use as an Wayne Dyer, you know, right? Yeah. And you let them be the inspiration. But as we allow them to be our inspiration, we also develop, I love what your own uniqueness. We don't have to copy anything. Your own voice, own expression.
As we were talking, I also just got like a feeling from that card of if some of you are watching this, you know, and this is probably one person, but if you feel a resistance to, oh, I don't do that, you know, like just to look again, you know, like, oh, I'm in my lane. I don't feel that way, or I don't let myself get distracted. Think again, you know, just like touch on it again. Like just as like a little reminder, because it could be also like blocking your own development, you know, by you know, like there's sometimes where, you know, you give advice to a client, I'm sure it's happened to you, and they're like, yeah, sure, you know, and you're like, you're not going to do it, you know, or whatever, you know, and it's not like they're wrong or bad or anything, but
I get that all the time with the pardon letters.
It's a block, you know.
They give homework and some people feel that they're beyond, that they don't need to.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, they'll be back years later or 2 years, you know, and it's like, we're going to be at the same place. There is no shortcuts with this.
Right. That's a good way to say it, shortcuts and stuff.
We need to do certain things.
Mhm.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed this live stream. Yes.
Yeah.
This young lady has a busy day.
I do.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so what can we say? Always a joy to connect. Yes.
Mhm,
This
mhm.
I think is gonna be our time spot.
We're
Fridays.
trying Fridays at around 11. 11's
Around
the goal.
11-ish.
Sometimes Blanca had to like call in Uriel to get the camera.
That
She
was
literally
hot, the way-
clapped. I'm like messing with the camera, the webcam for like a while. I was messing for a while. I was getting stressed out. She's like, Uriel, we need you. And the freaking camera goes on. I'm like, okay. No, I was like, yeah.
God bless the power of knowing that you could call upon the archangel, the angels, and command of assistance.
Mhm.
And that's how easy it happens. I'm
was-
glad that you saw that.
Yeah, right.
Witness, so that it's just so that we can learn that it is available
Mhm.
to us, and the grace of that.
Yeah.
To have grace for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very cool. That was cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Next time when we meet, we're probably gonna try. We don't promise.
Yeah.
We'll try
I'll
to
just like get
see-
and scoot over. I'll just
Yeah.
be the scooter. And
Or
pick out
maybe I
some
could
stuff.
look on my phone.
I don't know. I feel like it's just, it's like, it's going to be like, you're going to be
Okay.
like, people are gonna be watching people like stare at their phones then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, we'll see. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll figure it out. I gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. But more like the casual
Yes.
setting. I feel like we had like some kind of mission today. Like,
yes.
like a,
Yes.
something
And of
worth
course, we love if you tell us anything that you would like us to discuss. I know that in my channel, they're really good with that.
Mhm.
And it just kind of helps.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that you would like us to share about,
Yeah.
drop us a comment, and we'd be happy to look it over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
right.
Definitely. All right.
We leave you
Have a
always
happy
with
weekend.
our love, with our light, and with our peace. We love you very much. And we hope you have a great weekend.
Yep.
Give it up, girl.
Boop.
Love you.
Bye.